I was so exhausted from the daily verbal abuse from my husband, as well as the physical labor I did at my part-time job at a cabbage farm, that I fell asleep as soon as I got home that day. Eventually, my husband's furious yelling woke me up. In an instant, I felt my blood rush away from my skin, and fear enveloped my heart.
Make me dinner 5 frickin' minutes, woman. And mark my words, if you can't do what I tell you, we're getting a divorce. Do you hear me?
I felt the blood rush back to my skin, and I could feel a hot, passionate rage well up inside me. Of course, Master, I'll follow your orders to the frickin' letter. But you'll have to take responsibility for all your evil doings, though. My name is Aaliyah, and I'm a 30-year-old part-time employee. My husband, Parker, is 34 years old and works in an office. We initially met at work because he was assigned to be the one to educate me in the ways of the work. And our friendship blossomed into something more when he confessed he had feelings for me. We stayed together for 22 months until we got married. This was 3 years ago. Peter is a hardworking, serious person who doesn't drink or smoke. He was a perfect partner for me, but he had a habit of lecturing me, which I found to be quite a drawback. I resigned from my job when we got married, mostly because he wanted me to.
I admit I'm a bit of a nervous wreck, so I'm probably going to meddle in the housework that you do. But I can't say much to you then because you'll be tired from work. So, I want you to be a full-time housewife if you don't mind.
If you say so, I'll do my best with the housework, but until we have kids, I'd rather work even short hours, or maybe a part-time job to save more money.
You don't need to worry about money, Aaliyah. I'll work hard at my job and make the money we'll need for the future. If I come home tired from work and the house isn't clean, that's going to be harder on me.
I mean, if you insist that much. Alright then, I'll be a stay-at-home mom. And so, I started my life as a full-time housewife. At first, I was not very good with housework in the beginning, and it took me a long time to do it all. But as I got used to it, I could finish most of the cleaning and laundry before lunchtime, and then I only had to think about the dinner menu for the night. And as I got more accustomed to it, I was even able to manage the dinner menu with an app on my phone, and the amount of free time I had at home increased pretty sharply. I'm sure a lot of people have an image of a housewife always being busy with taking care of the house, but since I had no children then, and since where I lived was a one-story house with a small surface area to clean, having more time on my hands was an inevitable consequence of my new job. One fine afternoon, I had nothing to do, so I was watching a talk show on TV and was sipping a cup of coffee. Ah, great. I'm bored again today. I'm so tired of doing the same thing every day. When I was single, if I had even a little bit of free time, I would go shopping, or have lunch, or go to the movies with my friends. However, as a housewife comes with the disadvantage of being at the mercy of my husband's income, I couldn't do anything that cost a lot of money. Besides that, our house was in the country, far from the city. I thought I would be more comfortable and convenient for us to live in an apartment or condo in the city, but my husband insisted on owning a house, so we bought a house that was on sale on the outskirts of town. Surrounded by fields, the house is still quite some distance away from our nearest neighbors. And these neighbors were all farmers, with a very busy schedule throughout the year, so it was darn near impossible to talk to them other than the occasional greeting and small talk. I do think it's a luxury to be able to live in my own home, and my husband is paying off the mortgage on this house. I know I should be grateful to be able to live with lots of space and little distractions that one would find in the city, but I was not very attached to our house because it was never my dream. It did not reflect any of my opinions or wishes for the future, but what could I do? I was a housewife and lived on my husband's income. Trying to talk to him about my own vision for the future, especially after his hopes and dreams were all pretty much a reality by that point, was just not possible. I simply had no choice, and make the most of my life in the countryside. Since I had so much free time, I started doing some muscle building exercises I had seen on TV. I didn't want to stay home all day and let my body relax too much. I knew that could give me a hard time later on in life. I got quite hooked on the exercise I began to do, and as a result of my enthusiasm, to my great surprise, I started to get shredded abs. After about a year of marriage, I was so bored to death that I was mostly working out in my spare time. And because I was doing so much, I got very fit. This had to stop. I had to do something productive. I decided to take some action, and I went to talk to Parker, who came home from work. Hey, honey, I want to talk to you about something. Do you have a minute?
Yeah, I do. What's up?
So, I don't know if you know this, but actually, as a full-time housewife, I have a lot of spare time. I get the cleaning and the laundry in the morning, and I have the whole afternoon off, pretty much. Up until now, I've been using that time to exercise and do yoga and stuff like that, but I'm starting to feel that it's just a waste of time. I want to be productive. I want to go out to work.
Work? Of course not. You have to do the housework perfectly.
Of course, I'll do the housework as perfectly as I've done up until now, Parker. But I really do think that it's a waste of time to spend your spare time doing nothing. All the while, Parker was listening to me with a furrowed brow. He was clearly not liking what he was hearing, but I didn't give up, and then I said to him, "Please, Parker, I'll work for only a short time as a part-timer. So, please, can I work for a little bit?"
As a part-timer, huh? But I don't think I can get a good part-time job around here.
I think I can get a job as a helping staff on a farm around here. It's only a daytime job, so I don't have to work at night. Don't you think it's a good compromise?
Working in a field? You really think you can do that kind of hard labor?
I'm positive I can. Hey, can I please? It'll help me lots, honey. And it'll help our future a bit too, because I'll be providing too, even if it doesn't amount to much compared to you. Please, Parker.
All right, but don't cut corners on the housework.
Yes, of course. Thank you, honey. After receiving my husband's permission, I immediately went to a farmer's market and applied for a job in a cabbage field. Because of the shortage of labor, I was hired right away. And that's how I started working for the first time in over a year as a farm helper. Working in the cabbage fields was hard labor indeed, especially since it was harvesting season. The work consisted of carrying loads of empty crates to the vegetables ready to be harvested, manually cutting the stems off the heads of cabbage, and hauling them into the crates until they could carry no more. I'd never seen so much cabbage in one place. It was insane. It was very hard sometimes, but I was glad to be able to use the muscles I had trained unwillingly and in vain. Compared to the days when I was confined to the house, working under the sun helped me sleep better at night too. Such was life until one day, everything changed. Because I was busy with more work than usual that day, I came home an hour late. I hurriedly started to prepare dinner to make it in time for Parker's return. But before the food was ready, he walked through the door.
I'm home. Hey, wait a minute. Dinner isn't ready yet?
I'm sorry, honey. I came home late, but it's almost done. I'll hurry up so you won't have to wait much longer. I thought that was the end of that. But then I heard my husband click his tongue in annoyance. I turned around to look at him in bewilderment, and he was glaring at me with a very angry look on his face. My husband proceeded to yell at me with the look of the devil himself, spitting all over the place.
This is exactly why I was against you working. Why won't you just accept being a freaking full-time housewife, Aaliyah? It's not that hard. You imply that yourself. I told you time and time again that you have to do the housework perfectly.
Parker, please calm down. I just happened to be late today, and only today. It won't happen again.
How dare you talk back to me? You promised that you would never cut corners on the housework. What the frick do you call this right here? Who the hell do you think I am? Do you think I'm stupid?
I don't. I really don't. Please, Parker, calm down. Why are you yelling at me so much? I couldn't help but shudder at the sight of my husband's face, which contorted beyond recognition with rage and disappointment.
Listen to me. You are a housewife and nothing else. Have you forgotten about that? Your main job is to do the housework and take care of the home, and your husband, the head of the family. The frick do you mean you came home late? Don't talk so big and sassy for a lowly part-timer. You have no idea what it means for extra hours.
Parker, this is too much. Why must you be this way?
Shut the hell up, whore. Don't put your own poor performance on the shelf. How can you play the part of the victim when you are clearly so bad at your job? If anyone here is troubled because of the situation, it's me. If this ever happens again, mark my words, you're going to quit that stupid job. If you still want to do that, see if I freaking care. And don't underestimate me, Alia. I'm dead serious here.
I was too shaken to respond. So my husband said he was going out to eat and left the house. I collapsed to my knees right where I stood and burst into tears. I wondered if that monstrosity was the same man who had been so serious and so kind. The same man I'd fallen in love with, the one I married. It filled me with so much sadness that I became frightened of him. I wondered what in the world had triggered him so much. Was he that unhappy with the delay in preparing dinner? How could he yell at me in such a scary, rude, and intimidating manner? I did the rest of the chores that day without ever uttering a word to Parker after he came home. Neither did he, but he kept glaring at me as if he was watching me. His verbal abuse escalated with time, and I eventually began to feel like I was being treated more like a slave than a housewife.
Hey you, what's this yellow stain on my shirt? Are you washing them properly? Don't be so careless, damn it.
I do wash them properly, Parker. It doesn't look yellowed to me.
What did I tell you about talking back at me? I have to take my clothes to the dry cleaners now because you can't seem to make a single decent decision. I'll deduct the cleaning fee from your living expenses, all right?
Oh, no, my living expenses already doesn't amount to very much. I can't afford to be given any less.
It's your own fault because you're just an incompetent wife. Be thankful I haven't divorced you yet. Take a look at this.
My husband took out some sheets of paper from his bag and held them in front of me. They turned out to be divorce documents, with his section already filled in. With tears streaming down my face, I poured my soul into all the apologies I had to offer him. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Parker. It was all my fault. Please, forgive me.
You clearly don't know how to apologize properly. Come on. Get down on your knees and rub your head on the floor.
I got down on my knees as he told me to. I knew that if I didn't, he would yell at me again and never stop until I was rendered to a catatonic shelf of trauma and anguish. Damn, that was pretty cheesy, but you get the gist. As long as I apologized to my husband in this way, he would get back in a good mood and leave me be for another while before the same thing happened again. As these hard days continued, I myself began to think about divorce multiple times. However, I did not think I could make a living separated from my husband. There was no way I would be able to support myself on my part-time income from the cabbage farm work. One day, when I was getting ready to go home after finishing my part-time work, I was approached by a mother who was also working part-time. "Listen to me for a minute," she said. I was doomed. The woman who approached me was known as Mrs. Titano, and talking with her when you were in a hurry to get somewhere else was a bad idea. And this was exactly my situation. I wanted to go home as soon as possible, but Mrs. Titano's long conversations were notorious among my fellow part-timers. Still, I couldn't just abruptly end the conversation and leave, So I went along with the conversation for what I thought was a little bit. I was listening to her complaining about her husband, about how annoying her work was, and other such idle, meaningless chatter. Oh, my! Look at the time. Well, good night, Miss Aaliyah. Nice talking with you. After finishing what she wanted to talk about, she quickly left. I checked the time and immediately felt myself go paler than a slice of mozzarella. I saw that it was almost time for Parker to come home. It seemed I had been listening to Mrs. Titano's blah 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 for about an hour. I rushed home, but I was about 10 minutes late. For a split second, I considered making a run for my own safety, but I thought that would only make the situation far worse. I decided to swallow my fear and get inside the house. While I did swallow my fear, hypothetically, it came right back. I could feel my hands trembling as I unlocked the front door and went inside. The atmosphere dawned a sense of disquiet, and it reminded me of the kind of atmosphere one would feel while watching a horror movie. Just before the protagonist finds a mutilated body at their feet. My heart was pounding as I pushed the door to the living room open, and I found my husband standing with his arms folded, and he was not happy.
Got any idea what time it is?
I'm sorry, Parker. I tried to hurry home, but a fellow part-timer started complaining about her husband, and I couldn't finish the conversation.
Making excuses now, are we? Well, you just wasted a few precious minutes of my day.
I know, I messed up. I'm sorry. I'm going to make dinner right now.
Oh, so you're going to make me wait even longer? It's very nice of you.
How about you take a bath first?
No, I can't. I can't take a bath until I've eaten. What the hell is your frickin' problem? If you don't get your ass in the kitchen and whip something up in 5 minutes, I'm divorcing you. I'm not kidding. I'll get you to sign these divorce papers.
This was just standard procedure at this point. He began to unfold the filled out divorce papers again and started to lay them out on the table, one at a time. I rushed to start cooking dinner without even putting on my apron. All the while, my husband was glancing at his watch and glaring at me, monitoring me like I was an assassin cooking up some poison for him to eat, making sure he logged every single one of my moves. No matter how much I hurried, 5 minutes was merely a blink of an eye. My husband began to shake his head in an attempt to show me how much longer I was making him wait.
How much longer are you going to make your husband wait, woman?
I cried out in horror and managed to finish preparing dinner in 10 minutes. It was a simple meal, but my husband's favorite. Then my husband clicked his tongue somewhat quietly, ate in silence, took a bath, and went to bed in the bedroom. I felt my entire body relax as my husband released me from this nightmare, and I fell into a slump. I was sick of living like this. Why did I ever have to be treated like this? I sacrificed so much for this man, and how was he repaying me for more than 1 year of excellent care for the home? Unfair, judgment, abuse, threats of divorce, a seething hatred welled up inside me towards Parker. A few days later, I went to work as usual. By that point, I didn't have much of an appetite, and I wasn't sleeping well either, so I felt very tired when I got home. I set down my bag, drank a glass of water, and just completely zonked out on the couch. Eventually, my husband's furious yelling woke me up. In an instant, I felt my blood rush away from my skin and fear enveloped my heart.
How long are you going to stay in the bed, damn it? Make me dinner in 5 frickin' minutes, woman, and mark my words. If you can't do what I tell you, we're getting a divorce, you hear me?
And here it was again. Parker's 5-minute cooking YouTube challenge. I felt the blood rush back to my skin, and I could feel a hot, passionate rage well up inside me. This freaking bastard ordering me around like I'm nothing but his stupid pet. Just you wait, master, for my counterattack is about to commence. I got up tardily and lazily, met Parker's intimidating glare with a calm composure, and said, "All right, 5 minutes it is. In return, you don't complain about whatever cooking I can conjure in that ridiculously short time. Okay? I took a cup of noodles out of the kitchen cupboard, quickly ripped open the bag, put it in a bowl, and poured hot water from a pot. I then offered it to my husband and said, "We're having ramen tonight."
But that's frickin' instant noodles, ain't it?
I pointed my index finger directly at his nose and shook it side to side. "No, it's not. It's privately homemade ramen." My husband looked shocked, as though he'd been slapped in the face. But then he came to his senses and stood up.
I'm not eating this, damn it.
He went to the refrigerator, but of course there was nothing inside. He trudged back to the table where I waited with my arms crossed, glared at me as he sat down, and started slurping down the noodles I had made in literally less than 5 minutes. "How is it? Isn't it delicious? I'm so smart that I can make this in 5 minutes, aren't I?"
You gotta be frickin' kidding me. Listen, the next time you do something like this,
Yeah. Divorce, blah, blah, blah. If I don't cook anything within 5 minutes, we're done. You only told me a couple thousand times already. Mark my words, though. I will make everything within 5 minutes. That way, we'll both be happy. Right? My husband's mouth was agape for a moment at my retort. But then he said in a faint voice,
5 minutes and not a second later.
The next day, I toasted a slice of bread for breakfast and served it to my husband without spreading anything on it. "This is all I could do in 5 minutes, master."
What the hell?
Even a second later, and we're getting a divorce, right? So, I won't ever take more than 5 minutes. That night, I served him microwaved rice and a hamburger steak. Of course, I set the timer for exactly 5 minutes.
Hey, this is still cold. How the hell can I eat this?
Do you want me to take more than 5 minutes? Then can you bring me the divorce documents?
What? What the hell are you talking about?
If I reheat it, it'll take more than 5 minutes, Parker. Per your rules, I have to sign the divorce documents so that you can be free of my terrible housekeeping skills.
Oh, no. Well, if you made it in 5 minutes, I guess it's okay.
Parker seemed to have sensed that I really wanted a divorce too by then. Gradually, his outbursts became less rude, and he instead began to sneer a lot more often at me, as though he was monitoring what I was doing exactly. As I continued to serve crappy meals like this, my husband eventually began to feel a little under the weather. But I couldn't care less, and on this one particular day, I tried to heat up some frozen food in the microwave, for 5 minutes, as usual. Then my husband croaked in a voice that sounded like a crow.
Hey, Alia, dear. I'm not feeling too well today. Can you please make me a bowl of rice porridge?
I thought it was time for me to give him up. There was ready-made rice in the fridge that could be heated up, and I could have mixed it up with water to make it into a porridge-level consistency, maybe add a bit of raw egg and show you for some taste. But I wasn't going to do that because he treated me so terribly over the past few months. So I was going to give him a taste of his own medicine. Instead of making him good rice porridge, I soaked raw rice in water, microwaved it for exactly 5 minutes, and served it to him. Of course, it was still raw. 5 minutes are up, Parker.
What the frick is this garbage? This is worse than eating boiled guano for dinner. Whatever happened to that lovely human heart of yours?
Human heart? Well, call me a little girl getting a puppy for Christmas because I'm very happy that you mentioned that. Answer me this. Where did the Parker I fell in love with go? For the last couple of months, you treated me like your own personal slave, and all the nasty things you said to me have stuck with me for so long, you bastard! Think about what you said to me for a minute.
I won't have you talking back at me.
And there you go again. How many freaking times have you yelled, "How dare you talk back to me? How dare you talk back to me? I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to let you get away with it. Just give me the divorce papers, please. I'll sign them right now."
How can you live on your own?
Sorry, what was that? You think I can't live on my own? Well, newsflash, buddy. Before I married you, I was a normal, independent person with my own job and with my own life. Saying this, I took out of my husband's bag the filled out divorce papers that he always used to threaten me with. My husband panicked and jumped on me to stop me. I was so angry with him at that point that my vision and my mind was a blur. But the characteristic sound of a hand slapping a face resonated in the room. Parker's head was far smaller and lighter than a head of cabbage, and the blow sent him tumbling towards the kitchen, where he fell onto his stomach. Apparently, I had developed quite a bit of arm strength from muscle exercise while on the hard daily job in the cabbage fields. Oh, I'm sorry, but it's your fault for trying to be rough with me.
You.
My husband was mumbling something bitter, but perhaps he was too sick, or perhaps the force of the slap that wound up in my well-developed brachial muscles made his eyes roll back in his head, and he couldn't get up anymore. I finished filling in my section of the divorce papers, filed them with the city hall, and quickly got the divorce finalized. I notified both of my own parents and his of the divorce. My in-laws found out about their son's behavior toward me and generously apologized to me on Parker's behalf. My ex-husband is now living alone in the house, but because Mrs. Vaccarella, his mother, used to take care of him at home, and apparently has zero housekeeping skills, my husband's parents decided not to help him out so that he could take care of himself in the future. He is now living by himself and is becoming an increasingly miserable man, and people at his job are spreading the all-too-correct rumor that his old wife ran away from him due to verbal harassment and toxicity in the home. As for me, I decided to return to my parents' house for a while, so I had to quit my part-time job at the cabbage farm. But thanks to the work experience, I became pretty interested in agriculture, and my current plan is that after I take a few years to study agriculture a bit more professionally, I am planning to get a new job in earnest in that domain. My life with Parker has ruined me from marrying someone again for the time being. But should future experiences prove to me that good men are still out there, I think I can be willing to give it another shot. Wish me luck.